Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation we are going to have at this hour. It's my pleasure to be the one moderating it. I'm Dr. Peter Ogudoro. Most of you are aware that I lead the Nigerian teachers community, which, as we speak, has over 500,000 members. And there are people who are committed to using the opportunity we get every day in our classroom to transform the lives of the children that God sends to us every day. We live in very interesting times now. School fees is going up. Many of our young people who are desiring to get good quality higher education are not able to access it. Sometimes the obstacle is coming from UTME, which they have not been able to scale through, or from post-UTME, which is additional obstacle that young people have to contend with in Nigeria. We also know that even those who manage to secure admission to get into universities, these days they have to also contend with even finding the money to move from their homes to the places where they have to study. Because given the current economic circumstances of Nigeria, it has become pretty difficult for people to move around because transport costs has increased beyond most people's imagination. And that's something that it has put parents in very difficult circumstances. It's more challenging when you are actually very desirous of having your child study in the US, in UK, or in Canada. Prior to about 2 months ago, education was expensive in those countries, but now it's much more expensive because of the merger, which we have experienced with respect to black market rate and official rate. And so suddenly parents who had planned that maybe with 15 million, you could send your children to the US to go and study, you have discovered now that that has become very unrealistic. You probably will need as much as 50 million, 70 million to be able to achieve that if what you want is good quality education for your child. And similar challenges are there for parents who want to send their children to Canada, to the UK. We also have those whose children are not grown up enough to even want to aspire to go to university. So your own challenge may be at the level of not finding a good school for your child who is 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, or at the age where the child has to be in primary school, or in a good secondary school, junior school or senior secondary school. You have looked around all the schools in your neighborhood and you don't seem to find a school that has provisions that can meet the peculiar needs of your child. Your child is talented, and you don't find the facilities in your neighborhood that can ensure that those gifts that God has deposited in your child are manifested to the glory of God. And you are worried, you are wondering, how do I go about fixing this? Can I train my child at home? Or should I just manage and send the child to whatever school I can find, and maybe think of using lessons from some teachers who come home to make up for the shortfalls that we find in most schools in Nigeria. From my experience as a researcher in the industry, I know that it's not very easy to find an ideal school in Nigeria because of a myriad of obstacles that we have been experiencing as a country. Sometimes we get deceived into thinking that there was a time when it was really pretty good and things have gone very bad now. But I'm not under 50. I have been around for a relatively long time. I've been in the education space for about 40 years. I hold a PhD in education. I studied in England, where I earned a PhD in education with emphasis on career management. I did that program at the University of Reading in the UK, and had opportunity to also study in several other places, including the University of Cambridge, where I went to focus on environmental education and sustainability. And then I got opportunity to go to University of Sheffield. I was also at Oxford for some, training programs, and I moved to several other countries, including Austria, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. And what I have seen in those climes convinced me that we haven't started as a country in terms of provisions we make for children. Here, teachers don't have autonomy. There's so much emphasis on lesson plan as the magic that the teacher has in his or her hands to make learning take place in the classroom. But we know, if you do my kind of work and you function in the global education space, that the type of emphasis we place on lesson plan and lesson notes as instruments for provoking learning in the classroom, that emphasis is misplaced, and we are over-glorifying lesson plan and lesson note. In senior societies, teachers have autonomy, and they are permitted to reflect the peculiar needs and challenges of every child in the way they design the work they do, the teaching they offer, the lesson they deliver in classrooms. And that contrasts very sharply with what you find in Nigeria, where the teacher spends hours preparing lesson notes, and he goes to the classroom to deploy it. So he tells himself, in the first 5 minutes, I will do X, and the next 20 minutes, I will dictate notes, and then use 5 minutes to explain the notes. At the end of the day, our children remain at the level of young people who consume bits of knowledge which they don't understand. And so those of you who are educators, if you have had opportunity to become very familiar with Benjamin Blue's taxonomy, that Nigeria has remained at a very low level in the hierarchy. What we are still struggling with is to just give children knowledge, and we are not progressing to make them understand what we're teaching them. And we haven't started making very significant efforts with respect to helping them to apply the knowledge and the skills they acquire via the work that teachers do. It's more problematic when you are beginning to think of analytical thinking and progressing them to a level where they're able to do synthesis of knowledge and then create new knowledge to be able to get involved in the world we live in at the level of provoking new ideas and probably becoming inventors. So not much of what we are consuming in Africa has come from African inventors. And don't misunderstand that. Sometimes when you say that, people say, but Nigerians are doing well all over the world. Yeah, we are not saying that Nigerians are not doing well. Most Nigerians who are doing well, that doing well, it doesn't manifest until you leave the shores of Nigeria, then you become a star. But while we are here, because of the absence of the right technology, and sometimes also the right knowledge and skills and other elements of a conducive environment, you don't get to demonstrate that God has also created you well. But the moment you get into the UK, Canada, Germany, and America, you discover that you become something, somebody, the people back home who didn't recognize you much earlier, now begin to boast about you and say, that's a Nigerian. He's the one who had discovered this, he's the one who has done that. But we can begin to think of how we can improve the quality of education we give our children. And that's the whole essence of this conversation we are going to have this evening. So if you're here and your challenge is, how do I make adequate provisions for my child who is still at kindergarten level? I'm considering homeschooling. Yes, we're going to give you ideas. One of the reasons why parents are afraid of approaching homeschooling is because you hear from your neighbors and from family members and those who are very illiterate regarding how homeschooling can be deployed. They tell you, children who homeschool, they lack the opportunity to interact with other children, and that way they are not going to be able to build social capital, acquire the skills it takes to do teamwork eventually. But we know that that is not the whole story. Those of us who are professionals in the industry know that homeschooling as an ideology, as a paradigm, has progressed, has gone beyond that level where the child just studies alone in the child's home. So modern homeschooling makes provision for the child to be able to relate with other children in the neighborhood, and that's what we're going to propose to you this evening. So if, for example, you live in Lekki and your child, as a result of circumstances beyond your control, just must study at home because you haven't found a good school for the child, given the child's peculiar needs. For example, a child may be autistic, a child may have certain talents that the school system in Nigeria does not permit, the child to manifest. What you can do is to work with other parents in your neighborhood, and so you can move around, move the children around. Today, A hosts the children, tomorrow B hosts the children, and in 2 days' time, family C hosts the children. So they are interacting, and they are not missing what you may call the conventional school, because there are other children in the space. And what you will discover is that if it is done well and under the guidance of a professional, and of course, I'm volunteering to be able to assist as many parents as possible who want to, try those ideas to help you set it up in the different places where you live, and so that you take care of safety, and then you get the right knowledge. We train parents on how to work with their children, and also point you to resources in terms of teachers who can also come and meet you at the point of your need. And if you have some money, you can pay them. But you don't have to spend as much as the regular school system is asking parents to spend today. So you people can collaborate and become the owners of a fantastic school that takes care of the needs of your own children who are very peculiar. So you can be only 6 working together to give your children excellent education in Lekki. You might have 5 people in Ikorodu who are working together to give their children excellent education in Ikorodu. You own the school, and we can provide you, professional guidance and assistance and support. And sometimes we can arrange for, travels, picnics. We can even go as far as arranging for trips abroad, so that your children can go and interact with children who are studying, are probably living in other climes, including in Europe, in North America, and even in Asia. And that way, your children will get a better deal compared to the children who study in the typical so-called international school in Nigeria. So unfortunately, as a result of ignorance and the fear of the unknown, people are unwilling to try these ideas, but I encourage you to do so. I did it myself. At some point, I discovered that my 2 children were not getting the kind of education I desired for them. And so I decided that, well, enough is enough. So I pulled them out of the school system and finished their schooling at home, working together with teachers I hired and trained them on how to teach, because I discovered at the point I made those teachers fantastic individuals, very intelligent, and had gone to school, studied chemistry, biology, English language, mathematics, but they didn't have the skills on how to professionally deliver what they know to my children. So I spent time and trained them, and then I gave them opportunity, and I supervised the entire process. And these children, I put them out there to go and write relevant international exams, and they excelled. I have only 2 children. The first one, Marvelous, got a full ride, because with the assistance of homeschooling provisions, which gave him the kind of provisions that he wasn't getting in the school system, he was able to do things that were extraordinary. So the white people discovered him in the process of him writing a book with them, which he published and which is selling internationally via Amazon. And so they said one of the professors who worked with him to produce, the book he wrote for the world's, teenagers. And I said, well, I haven't seen any teenager who is as fantastic as you are before. And this is a professor who has been in the space of education for about 50 years, teaching psychology, and said, I would like to work with you. If you don't mind, come to my school. And that's how the conversation started. And then he briefed the admissions office of his university and said he would want this young person to compete for available scholarship. And he competed and won a full ride. And the scholarship he got in today's terms is certainly worth over 200 million naira. And he has completed his undergraduate program now, and he has also won new scholarships. Tomorrow is moving to a business school in Washington, D.C., where he is starting his graduate studies in business. And he is very, accomplished at the age of 21. He is happy. He has had opportunity to, as a result of what he studied in the U.S., had opportunity to work as an intern in the Senate of the United States of America. He has had opportunity to go to the White House several times. And that's the kind of exposure. He has worked in business, he has worked in public sector, he has worked in his school as a tour guide, and he has done all kinds of things. And this opportunities that are available to anybody who is willing to try. And it's not the only one. And so when we watched that and it came out fine, we also said, well, we have seen that this is not rocket science. If you deploy the knowledge that God has given you as a result of my studies abroad, in the UK, in Austria, in Sweden, in Finland, etc., we can repeat the same thing. And we did it again for his brother, Goswell, who today too is studying physics and mathematics. And also he is on a special scholarship for about 39 individuals. They recruited about 1,000 students, last year into his college, but about, I think 37 of them were selected specially for a special scholarship, and they're giving them extra training because they have identified them as talents that they want to give special education, in terms of skills, knowledge, and international networks, so that they can go and change the world for the better. And the education he's receiving as a scientist is not the type that we are used to here. Only 1 year, right from the beginning, every day he is in the laboratory. So they are not just telling him theories about physics. He's seeing those things demonstrated in the lab every day. And even this summer, after finishing his freshman year, they also gave him a job as a researcher. Right from year one, he's already doing research and working with 2 of his professors. And interestingly, his school, they selected just about 5 people to come and study physics. And these 5 freshers are working with 2 professors and several other people who are assisting them in the laboratory. So it's fantastic education. Apart from working in the research domain and gathering knowledge and getting positioned to take further steps in nuclear physics, he also gets opportunity to do work in some other arenas in order to become a balanced individual. I think it was in his first semester, he had opportunity to work in the kitchen, and he was earning money, doing so. So they move them around, So the things Nigerians don't want their children to do, when you get to the US, opportunities, open up, and that work is not for free. Some of the job, you find him at even his age and just a freshman, he may be he's earning as much as, $15 per hour. Multiply that by 8, he's, doing for the summer before he resumes, next month for his sophomore year. You see how much of money you can make as an individual, as a young person. And that is what I want for the average Nigerian child. We did it last year for about 12 young Nigerians. I worked with them starting from 2021. They came in, we trained them. They wrote relevant international exams, IELTS, TOEFL, and SAT, and then we trained them on how to write their essays, and then work with them to do those essays. Of the 12 of them, 1 got into the UK, 1 moved to Canada, 8 of them moved into the US, and they are all excelling. They are all, when they finished their first freshman year in May, they all reported that they're all on first class path. And that's because we gave them very good, foundation as they were living here. And their parents are joyful. They're happy. The children are very celebratory. They couldn't have got a better deal. And there are no anxious moments, because we trained them and got them to know how to walk in a US environment, that you are as good as the average, American child. You are not inferior. And that was because of the kind of foundation we gave them. And so these things are happening. One of them is so I have talked about, there were 12 who came, 8 ended up in the US, 1 went to Canada, the other went to the UK, 1 is leaving next month. He is joining them she is joining them in the US. And then the other one, who is older, decided to, because we put them through public relations training, and within a very short period, they got a professional certification that is the equivalent of a first degree. And in Nigeria, with that professional diploma, you can actually use it to get into university and spend only 2 years to get a first degree. So the oldest of them said she would prefer to just spend 2 years in Nigeria with that professional diploma in the university. And she's already enrolled. She's finishing her first year now. And that's at 300 level. So she has just 1 more year to go, and she gets a degree just because she worked with us for a short period, got a professional diploma that enabled her to start studying mass communication at 300 level. That opportunity is here in Nigeria, but most parents are not aware. So those who want to study mass comm, they do the conventional thing, waste time, do JAMB UTME, and then go through all kinds of stress to be able to get good education, which eventually they don't get. But this arrangement puts this girl young person in a situation where she's getting education, she's also working and earning money and getting the kind of experience that employers are looking for. So all of these things are possible. And this year, I'm already, working with about 30 other young people who we're processing, and some of them have already, secured their visas and they're ready to travel by early next month. So virtually everyone is going. Sometimes parents worry and they say, but I hear they turn people down. America is not giving visa. The reason why most people don't get the visa is because they don't respond to questions appropriately. They also do not know how to do, say the right things and indicate the right things when they're filling the application forms. And they don't go through mock sessions conducted by a professional, which is what I do with every child who passes through here. I sit down with them, we go through the mock sessions over and over, expose them to what it takes, to meet a visa officer. And then most of them eventually, because they have got good foundation, they're able to travel. So we save their parents money. Virtually everyone is on scholarship. So it's not rocket science. There are procedures to follow. And if that is your need as a child, you don't need to condemn yourself to studying in Nigeria if you don't want to. And don't listen to politicians. They have trained their own children abroad and they want you to stay here and suffer. A good number of these children who we sent abroad, last year, some of them first, tried their hands. Two of them tried their hands at, University of Lawrence, enrolled for mechanical engineering. But they complain that they go to the lab to do, laboratory work, and only 2 people are handling the equipment, that the rest 30 are just standing around them and having discussions. So when those 2 finish, they announce the result, everybody will copy and submit. And so people still finish with first class and high 2-1, they can't, solve practical problems because of the type of training they have received. And so we think that shouldn't be a portion, because the opportunity is there for you to go to any country you like in the world. And there are countries, for example, in Germany, all public universities in Germany accept people to come and study for free. And that's, I also work with people who want to go to Germany. The Germans have very good, higher education system that makes you a world-class person, especially if you're interested in, things that have to do with software engineering, computer science, other aspects of engineering, and even communication. Their communication is not at this low level that we are doing it here. You take a small area and you become an expert in that right from the beginning, and you discover that things are working well for you. So we want to replicate this for everyone. Every child deserves a good deal, and parents shouldn't sit down there and say they don't have money. It doesn't take a lot of money most of the time. When you keep listening to parents who don't have the information, who are not experts in the industry, you get discouraged. You think that international education is beyond the reach of your family. You don't have to sell everything you own. All you need to do is to, invest in their writing relevant international exams and getting prepared for how to apply for scholarships, which I do with the children here. So I'll be happy to, assist you and work with you and your children, to make this happen. We have a group starting here with me on Monday, August 14. And if your child gets into the group by the end of this week, that's latest 7th of August, we'll give your child a chance. So I will share some of those links for those of you who are on one of some of the WhatsApp platforms, so that you can take advantage of these things. My children have benefited. I want other children to benefit. We also have a parent here with us, at this hour, as a matter of both the father and the mother of Joshua, whose image I shared earlier today. They're here. They are also doing awesome things with Joshua. They have made a deliberate effort to give him a different type of education. So today, Joshua is the world's #1, for people of his age, who is using his hands, with respect to software engineering, and he's creating things, and the world is celebrating him. I have worked with Joshua too. He came here, he learned, communication, leadership, how to work in teams, and developed creative ability. And his parents are intimately involved, actively involved in his education. So they have not left Joshua's education in the hands of just, teachers and schools. Who may not have all the resources it takes to take care of a precocious child like Joshua. And so there are so many Joshuas around, there are so many Marvelouses around, there are so many Godswills around. So our children are not the only intelligent children in Nigeria. There are several other intelligent children. The reason why their gifts are not manifesting is because parents are afraid to follow unconventional approaches to give their children the education that they deserve. So this hour, we are trying to say, you don't have to keep listening to your neighbors who probably don't understand how these things work. So please, at this hour, I would like to invite, Engineer Bayo Agbola, Joshua's dad. If you're in the house, please can you wave your hand and let's interact a little bit and find out where your motivation is coming from that enabled you to do the kind of things you have done with Joshua. Engineer Bola, are you there?
I'm here, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us. So that's Engineer Bola. That's Joshua's dad. Can you let us into the world of Joshua a little bit? What is it that he had just recently accomplished, and what's the significance of that for your family?
Okay. Good evening, everyone, or afternoon, wherever you are, being part of this all around the world. Our son Joshua just became the first in the world to become certified by Amazon as an AWS certified developer associate. That is a cloud technology certification. And it's something that is a little high for his own age, but he's the first in the world to do this at the age of 13. Before now, he had passed the cloud practitioner certification, becoming the first in Africa to do that. And then he went on to do the solutions architect associate, also for Amazon Web Services, and became the first in Africa to do that. And he decided to step up, and just recently he got certified as AWS developer associate. Got the AWS developer associate certification, and being the first in the world to do that. So that's what.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you, engineer. So can you let us a bit into how Joshua has prepared for these exams? Is succeeding at this level? Has it happened as a result of following a regular, school curriculum? At this age, we probably expect him to be maybe finishing JS3. Has he followed regular curriculum to be able to accomplish this, as imposed by the Nigerian government?
Well, not exactly. not exactly. Well, we started with Joshua at the age of 6, when we felt that this young man seems precocious. In fact, his first exhibition of talent was in music. So we're trying to build him in the line of music. We got him a keyboard, got him a music teacher, and he was learning the keyboard. In fact, he became the keyboardist, for his school. But there was this summer period that we wanted to send his elder sister, who I think is also in this group right now, for a summer coding program. So that he was 6 then, and he was like, you cannot stay at home, just follow your sister and at least have somewhere to go together. Of course, when we got there, the organizers of the program said, no, we didn't create this program for this age. And I said to them that, you know what, this young man, I believe, can take a little more. So can you just help me create a curriculum that's appropriate for him? And well, they decided to listen. They took that chance on him, and they were surprised at what he could do by the time he ended the program. Now that began Joshua's journey into technology, and we decided that, oh wow, if this boy could do this, then let's support him in every way we can. So essentially, Joshua started at the age of 6, started learning programming at the age of 6. We gave him support. We sent him to CC Hub, which is a place in Lagos for learning technology. Along the line, we had to now bring him home and start schooling him, because each time he was in class, he was like always ahead of his class. So luckily, my engineering background and my technology knowledge came to a benefit. So I started getting him books and getting him other mentors, and started schooling him in tech. at a point in time, we now have to send him back to school again. We send him to a tech school, which is a semicolon, to learn software engineering and entrepreneurship. Now, when he was in semicolon, that was the time he just entered secondary school, right? And we had to sit down with the school from the onset that, please, we have a child who has a peculiar need, and we strongly believe he needs to be nurtured in this area of his passion. So we want to see how we can juggle this along with regular school. Now, to the credit of that school, they decided to think a little out of the box. So we agreed that Joshua will come to school for like, I think 2 or 3 days, I think 3 days, and then go to his tech school full time for like about 2 or 3 days. So that was how we were juggling it. So with that, was able to do a bit of continue with regular school and still continue with this tech program. But that was how we thought. So it pulled all of that up till around, should I say GS? Yes, I don't want to bore you with details, but we saw that it was not easy for him to balance the two. In fact, the school that started being very open, the school administration that started being very open to the idea of having a talented school. In fact, what stood him out was when he sat for the entrance exam, he won the scholarship from GSS1. So they were very, very impressed with that. So, but this school that started with this, the times when Joshua would be absent from class and then he has to come and do catch up, now became a challenge, right? Not all the teachers understood that, and they were not very, very supportive, right? And and I cannot blame the school. I even celebrate the fact that they could even think out of the box from the onset, So it came to the point where the administrators of the school, particularly the principal of the school, was saying that we cannot be having an exception for this child for things, so because you are expected, your notes must be up to date, this must be up to date, that must be done at a particular time, this assignment must be done. And Joshua was running 2 careers in one. So the understanding we expected, the exceptions, they began to withdraw those privileges, and that became like a struggle, for the young man. So, well, long story short, we went through that process, went to another school, and he was able to like finish his GSS3, right? But for his SS1, I just want to be very open with my family here. From his GSS1, we decided that, see, we are going to homeschool you and give you opportunity to blossom also in your area of passion. I know that in other clients, talented kids like this will be given the opportunity to balance, the two. In fact, some countries are very deliberate in selecting talented children and keeping them together so that they can go together. So we could not find that in the system where we were. We felt that, okay, we're going to take the future of our son into our own hands. So, well, the outcome of this kind of nurture and allowing Joshua to focus on his area of passion while we're trying to fill up the gap in traditional education is what has produced what is this, well, should I say, world record of being the first at 13 years to be certified as a developer associate with Amazon Web Services.
Excellent. Success, people always say, has, many friends, has a way of attracting, friends, and everybody become a brother or sister. Joshua is from my extended family and things like that. But at the time you're trying to do unconventional things and the things that most people around you don't understand, there's a tendency for people to resist it and label you as somebody who doesn't know what he's doing. What's your experience like? Many parents who have considered the idea of trying the kind of things you have tried, homeschooling, creating special curriculum for their children. They have brothers and sisters, older people, in-laws, mother-in-law, father-in-law, who say, no, you can't do that. Let him go to a regular place. You never experienced that? No discouragement from any quarters?
Well, there have been a lot of pushbacks and how do I call it? Some resistances, and I already gave you what we experienced in the Nigerian school system, right? So when we're shopping around for schools, we are looking for a school that will understand that, see, we have a talented kid and we need to balance this. So we didn't find any school until we find this particular school. And the evidence of the talent of our child, according as long as they were concerned, was he also did very well in the entrance exam. But along the journey, the traditional way of thinking began to prevail, and the young man was having struggles. So I give you an example. There was a time where Joshua was being celebrated all over Nigeria, and he was in the media all over the place. In fact, there were some media features that were done with him that they had to come to that school, right, and feature his teachers and the administrators of the school, right? But there was a time when Joshua had to be caned by the computer science teacher, or I don't know what it was, information tech teacher, because his notes were not up to date. So it was compulsory that he had to keep his note handwritten up to date. So there was one of those times, because of trying to balance it, that Joshua did not do that. And when he got to school, the teacher gave him, was like about 5 strokes of the cane, because his notes were not up to date. Now, this was a young man that was creating buzz out there, right? So what a paradox, right? In the technology space, where we are not even talking about typewriters or even touch typing. We're not even talking about AI, where we are speaking to things. A teacher was insisting your note must be up to date. Now, maybe there's a bit of benefit to that, but it was a challenge for us. So that's one example. There are a number of people who keep asking, right, that I hope you guys know what you are doing. The challenge for those of us who are psychologists and educationists is that will you deny the child his childhood because you are trying to help him build his talent? So people feel a child must stay within his spheres, and that's the only way. And once you deny him of that, you are going to fracture something in the child's psychology. And we know that this is there's merit in that argument, but we are doing everything to make sure that we raise a balanced child. That's why we are very, very, very intentional. We are very, 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 very intentional about this. So we've had a lot of pushbacks, and so sometimes you share these ideas with those who understand a bit. Those who don't understand, you don't try to push so much. You just say, okay, fine, let's go along this line. Let the results speak for itself. And so I guess part of what we're talking about right now is that the result is speaking for itself. To be frank, also, sometimes me and my wife have to have this conversation, because between I and my wife, who like are out of box thinking people, I think to be the crazier one, maybe the crazier one. My wife is always the voice of balance, always trying to pull me back. Don't go so far. Don't go too far. But I mean, she understands a bit of this to follow me a little in my crazy ideas, and that has been very, very useful and helpful. Of course, when we brought Joshua to Dr. Ogudoro's program, and we found that Dr. Ogudoro was doing the same thing, I just said, oh, finally I have somebody to point to. As, incidentally, he has a doctorate in education, and if he's doing this out of box thing, then he's my point of reference. So I started pointing to my wife, and can you see this is where we are going? So that conversation is still on. I want to say something that happened just yesterday. Because of Joshua's achievements, I decided to celebrate him. So I went to get him a bicycle. This is the first time I'm buying him a bicycle, but to celebrate his current achievement, I went to get him a bicycle. And the guy that was selling the bicycle to me said that, wow, you're trying as a parent. That not many parents, understand the importance of doing little things like this. That when you keep your children happy and you even keep them active, there's something it does to their psychology. And he was saying that he has been a cyclist for Nigeria, and he's talking about facts. That, this little thing that I've done is what some parents have not done, that has made their children to opt for drugs because they cannot find some place to dissipate their energy. There must be a place where your children are taking time to dissipate their energy intellectually and physically or whatever. There must be something to engage them. If not, something else is going to fill up that space. So point I'm trying to say is that while we're having those pushbacks, we are listening to the merit of the argument of people are saying, oh, what about this? What about that? And then we are trying to fill up the gaps. But it has not been easy. But here we are. We think the results that we have gotten so far speak for itself, and we want to take this forward.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, engineer, for joining us and sharing those interesting ideas with us. And I have had, I come from a similar background. When I pulled my children out of the the regular school system and tried to do the job myself, because we were not getting the result we wanted from the school system. Most schools you hear about, international school, this and that. A lot of places are just shiny buildings. And again, I train teachers and I train school owners. And I know that when I place them against international standards, most of them fall short. And so, unfortunately for us in Nigeria, most parents, because they don't have this awareness, they think that shiny buildings translate to good quality education, but that is not true. And that issue you were raising regarding, creating a special curriculum, recognizing the child's gifts. That's how education is done in Finland. I just returned from Finland on an international research project, sponsored by Facebook. And what I found in all the classrooms I went to was the fact that they were not worrying so much about lesson plan and lesson notes, where you just follow it in a very rigid way. So they come into the classroom, they ask the children, how are you today? What would you want to learn today? What is it that you want to accomplish today? And then they put into consideration their gifts, their talents, their expectations, their interests. And then they are in regular conversations with their parents. So the school system is run in such a way that it's not just governments as say these are the things children must learn, and then you just follow those things rigidly. They have discovered that that hasn't worked for them. And the reason why today Finland provides the best quality life to their citizens is because of this teacher autonomy, which they have invested so much in. And then they have made education free so that money will not become a barrier to parents who are trying to achieve this kind of thing. So I went through this process with my children. They were also in school, and teachers thought they knew better, what my children should be studying and the course they should go for. The first one was they labeled him, the counselor in the school labeled him an all-rounder. It was good in physics, chemistry, biology, commerce, economics, etc. And they say, but Nigeria, once you are good in the sciences as well as in the arts, the natural tendency is for teachers to push you into engineering, medicine or pharmacy. But the young person said, no, that's not what he wants to do, because he had encountered some of my contemporaries in the US, and he said, I like the idea of psychology, and so I want to go abroad and study that. And I agree with him that he has to study what he likes to study. And today, he's very happy because we gave him a curriculum that enabled him to become what he truly wants to become. So he's balanced, and he's, in fact, the issue of lack of balance doesn't come up at all in his case, because as a matter of fact, he's extroverted. He can go everywhere. He stands up anywhere and makes presentations, right from the time he was there. He was head boy when he was in primary school. He was also head boy when he got to high school, really. But we didn't allow him to finish the entire process because those things were becoming distractions. So having, even when we allowed them to be in the school system, we still were involved. I was actively involved. My wife was actively involved. As a matter of fact, my wife had to take a break from her banking job to make this investment. So parents who are considering this area, this is a good idea, because the idea of have a job in a bank, women equality, gender equality, everybody must work and bring in money. At the end of the day, what are we working for? Most parents are struggling because they want to be able to find the money to send their children to school. So if you are working hard, stay in a bank, and your children don't have access to you, you come home late, the father comes home late, and everybody, you are dependent on the school system. It's a school system I'm very familiar with. The school system is not a school system you should depend on the way we depend on it here. The teachers you are relying on, probably do not know as much as you think they know. You probably want your child to become an inventor, set up businesses. The average Nigerian teacher hasn't set up a business before. And so they are very averse to taking risks and very, not as adventurous as you want them to be. So you need to create a system that works for your children. Because if they keep listening to people who tell them you can't click on anything on the internet, you can't have a computer until you are age 16, those things don't work. My children, both of them became Microsoft certified at the age of 9, really, because I bought them computer at the age of 6, and they owned it. I gave them internet access and trained them on how to use the internet. But here, what we hear, especially for those who don't understand how these things work, is that children should not have access to internet. If Joshua doesn't have access to internet, Joshua wouldn't be able to find the resources to be able to write his exams and pass. So you train children and then give them opportunity to discover their purpose in life early. So they now have focus and know that all the time they have to use to pursue their calling and make a difference in their world. And they will not entertain any distraction, because once the child's hands are full, my children's hands have always been full. So they don't have time to do the regular things young people do on Instagram. In fact, Marvelous, the first boy, is starting his graduate training in Washington, beginning from tomorrow. He has uninstalled his Instagram, he has uninstalled his Facebook, he has uninstalled everything, because he says this 1 year is going to mean a lot to me. So you are not going to find him, easily in social media, really, because it discovered his purpose early. We gave him the guidance, gave him the resources, and provided all the support. So we don't have to keep listening to people who don't know what you want to do. You are a family, you are peculiar, you know what you want, you are unique. You don't have to wait to do it exactly the way society wants, because at the end of the day, when you don't get what you want, society will still blame you. So why didn't you do it like that? Why did they listen to us? So we have to find courage, to push and move in the direction that we want to go. It seems Deborah has joined us in this room now. Deborah is your only daughter, who is also into programming and coding. Deborah, are you in the house? Debbie.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, great. We can hear you now. Excellent. I know too that you are also very passionate about things that have to do with, the internet, software engineering, creating apps and working with them. Really, you happen to be Joshua's, only sister, and you seem to have also traded this path, and you're also not very, worried about following the conventional approach. And I know that today you do coding and you teach children coding. And a few days ago, I had a conversation with you. I was asking, so is it possible for children who are age 4 to learn coding? And you were saying that that is true. Can you remind me of why you think that is a possibility? And how can parents who are desiring to give their children the type of education the world is insisting on now, how can they access it? Are people like you relevant? Is there anything you can do to help? If we set up, we have a club now that is happy to help parents in different parts of the world. Will you be happy to serve as a volunteer and then get little payment for when we can find the resources? How does it work with children who are in kindergarten going to primary school?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ogudo. I really appreciate. So coding can be learned by anybody. It's like learning ABC, it's like learning math. We start from the basics. Anybody can learn. And when we start with them, we start with block-based programming. So software engineering is something that should be learned from a young age, because it's something like muscle memory. When you start training the muscle memory from a young age, when they get older, it's going to be easy for them to understand and easily, move ahead in their career as adults. So teaching them from a young age helps their muscle memory for the future. We start with stuff like Scratch, code.org. Like for me, I have a tech school that I teach kids from age 4 to 18 how to code. All you just need is a laptop and good internet. So now, based on that, you can send it to me. They can, sorry, hold on. I'm in a noisy place. So they can send it, they can reach out to me. Their parents can reach out to me, probably on the WhatsApp, and I can arrange a class for their children during the week. We also take group classes as well. So basically, any child has the ability to learn programming. We start from the block-based programming, go into web development. You teach them programming languages, you teach them Python, teach them Java, accustoming them till they now find what they want to do. Oh, I am interested in game development. I'm interested in web development. I'm interested in artificial intelligence. We now pattern it according to what they want. Then they start working on projects, preparing them for the future, and also certifications. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Deborah. So it's the way you have sounded, reminds me of the type of education young people are receiving in the Nordic region, where you have, Norway, Iceland, Finland, Sweden, and Denmark. They are interested in the peculiar needs, interests, talents, and gifts of the child, and curricula, gets, developed, designed to deal with these needs. So every child is unique, every child is different. And so teachers have the autonomy and the space, and where the resources are there, we move in line with what the child, wants to learn. I remember when engineer was, talking to us earlier, Joshua was being compared to copy note. I know too, my children used to have that challenge when they were in the school system. There was a time I came in from England to do research in the secondary school system in Nigeria, and I spoke with children who were finishing high school, and they complained. I met those who were in top private schools, in top unity schools, as we call them, and the complaint was that they don't understand why their teachers make them copy notes, especially notes that have to do with ideas, concepts that are already in the textbook that their parents have paid for. So they come to the classroom, and the teachers now start dictating from those textbooks again, or the teachers sometimes even copy from the textbooks into their notebooks, and then come to the class and dictate from their notebooks for the children to copy. And they spend like 20 minutes, 30 minutes doing this. And by the time they are done, they don't have the time to explain anything. So children end up just learning how to cram things, and they just go. They may end up having A's in school certificate, and probably even, pass exam to go to the university. But they are not in a position to explain anything that they have been consuming all these years, because nobody has made a deliberate effort to move away from merely getting children to consume knowledge, to getting them to understand, getting them to learn how to apply, getting them to learn how to analyze, become critical and analytical thinkers, and then synthesize knowledge, and also become creators of new knowledge, which is where the world is now. Everybody can create. You don't have to become a professor before you become somebody who can create a new thesis, a new theory. We all have the capacity to do that. And so children are also resources in the learning system. And I think that the community we run now, those who belong to that community are benefiting from the work we're doing on our platform. That's Nigerian Teachers Community. We have over 500,000 teachers there. So if you're a teacher participating this evening and you are not a member of Nigerian Teachers, get involved. It's free. Just join them. If you go to Facebook and you type Nigerian Teachers, if the group is above 500,000, then you're in the right place. But if you want a URL, just type www.facebook.com/groups/Nigerian Teachers, and you're in for free. And then you will listen to your colleagues from around the world, US, Canada, Germany, Finland, Norway, and Nigerians too, who are asking questions. Any challenge you have in your classroom, you come there, you pose a question. As a school leader, you own a school, you're having a problem with your teachers, or you need a job as a teacher who has recently finished university and you want to work somewhere, or you are a school owner, you haven't got a physics teacher, a math teacher, you need a very good one. You just come and advertise it on your platform for free. We don't charge for any of those services, because graciously, God is supporting us using people from across the world. We are in collaboration, with some universities in the UK and in Finland. And Facebook also supported us, for a while, to ensure that we gain the strength we need to be able to do the kind of thing we're doing this evening. So we are happy to work with you and ensure that your child gets the best deal possible. Please do not let Nigeria discourage you. The politicians are sending their children abroad. Even our religious leaders are sending their children abroad. Take a moment and reflect on the major religious leaders in our country. Go and research on the profile of their children. You discover that they all studied either in America or in Britain. They don't even go to Canada. They go to Britain, they go to America. They go and get the best higher, good quality higher education. But they come here and ask you to be praying for Nigeria. As they're praying for Nigeria, they're taking precautions. So behave like your bishops. who, as they're praying for our country, they are also taking steps to ensure that their children get good quality education. And graciously, we're in a position to make that happen for you. You don't have to be a multi-millionaire to send your children abroad. If I work with them for only 1 month, they learn how to make applications, they write international exams, and they write the proper international exams, and know the type of universities that have the kind of scholarship they're looking for. We also have to be sure that they are aspiring to study what they should study, because most of the time, the only courses we hear here are medicine, engineering, accountancy, and maybe business administration. There are several other courses that young people can study. My younger child is studying physics and mathematics, which is not a popular course in Nigeria. But when you get into the UK and get into Germany and get into US, you discover that those courses, become kings. Once you know physics and you know mathematics, which are the bedrocks of the sciences, especially engineering, then you become a numero uno, a primus inter pares, somebody who, without whom, applied scientists are not able to do their work. So you need to get out of the spaces where people don't know what they're talking about and get into spaces where people have gone to distance. Unfortunately for us in Africa, we don't have career managers in our schools. Right from kindergarten to university, there are no career managers in the school system here. To the best of my knowledge, as we speak today, I'm the only person in the entire African continent with a PhD in career management. Universities in Africa don't teach that. They teach the regular counseling. And so school counselors are just sitting down there and they look at children. Once you can show them, A in chemistry, A in biology, A in mathematics, A in English language, they say you're going to study medicine. If you add physics to it, they say you're going to study engineering. But career management has gone beyond merely using the grade of the child to determine what the child should study. Sometimes you have excellent grades in particular areas, but that's not your calling. You may even fail a subject and it's still your calling. If you get the right teacher, at some point, both of my children were struggling in mathematics, and I knew it wasn't their fault. It was because they didn't have a good teacher. I hired one and brought the person home and paid good salary, and that worked wonders. From the bottom level, they moved and became and got to the top of their classes in mathematics. So if your child is struggling with anything, don't assume automatically that it is the child's fault. It's not necessarily because the child is not working hard or because the child doesn't have intelligence. You have to probe into the methodology that they are adopting to teach the child in the school system. Most of it now in Africa is upside down. The teachers haven't got great skills, and it's not their fault. The professors teaching them need to upgrade, and the professors are also complaining that they're not getting resources to go and attend seminars and workshops abroad. And the government needs to do something about that if we have to really move forward as a country. So, we will be ending it here, but I can give opportunity to 1 or 2 people if we see a hand very early. The first hand we see, we give you opportunity. If you have a question, you can ask it, and then we'll end it there. But if you are on the group, the community we have set up for those who want to do things differently and give their children the best education possible, whether it's the children are at kindergarten level or primary or secondary, junior or senior secondary, or they are in the university, you want to take them away from Nigeria and move them to maybe America. Yes, this is still possible. If your child has just finished year 1 in the university in Nigeria and you don't like the kind of education the child is receiving, we can make it happen for the child. And it's not rocket science. I'll get your child into America, and the child will study almost for free, provided the child has done well before now and is not afraid of mathematics, not afraid of English language. We train the child. In the next 1 month before I travel out again, to continue my research abroad, we'll be able to provide, good quality help that will get your child into the place that the child deserves to be. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to make that happen. So Shobola Abimbola, we hear you and then hear Olufemi Great. Please, don't worry about telling us that, thanking us for what we're doing. I don't need all the thank you. This is my calling. So whether people appreciate it or not, I'm already happy. So go straight to the point, ask your question. Don't waste our time by telling us it's a wonderful session. We already know it is. Shobola Abimbola. Olufemi.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Yes, one sentence. Don't thank us. We already know we appreciate what we're doing.
Straight to the point. How can my 14-year-old who is going to SS1 benefit from this home tutor program. Thank you, sir.
Okay, yeah, everybody can benefit. So what we do first is to meet with the family. So we meet with the family and design a curriculum for the family. So you come to my office in Adeni Johnson, Ikeja. If you book appointment, people can come in between 7 and 9 if you're a member of the homeschooling club. So we sit down with your family and look at do personality tests for the child, and look at the resources available to you. How much do you earn? What can you afford to give your children? You shouldn't be spending money that you don't have. We shouldn't borrow money to pay school fees. So you should spend only money you can afford to spend. And no matter where you are economically, you can give your child the best quality education possible. So we just have to tweak things to reflect your peculiar circumstances. But it's not something you just sit down wherever you're living and you assume that you just make a phone call and everything gets sorted out. You listen to engineer. Engineer follows his child everywhere. They go and do things together. The mom is involved. The same thing happens in my own family. My wife follows my children, and we get involved. We are actively involved. I get involved. I take time off work to go and attend all activities. I take them to places where they go and learn computer. So it takes time. You don't need, once you have done this job while they are in kindergarten and they finish high school, their university education will be absolutely available to you almost for free, depending on who the children are. As I speak, I don't send money to my children. Both of them are studying in the US because I did all the work. I spent all the money when they were in primary school and in secondary school. I get them all the time. I get them all the resources. Now they have taken care of themselves by winning good scholarship, by passing relevant international exams, and by doing the applications well, and by having skills to relate well with people. Some of the children don't know how to say thank you, don't know how to be respectful, do not know how to work in teams, do not know how to ask for what they want, are so afraid of seeking help, even when the help is available. So we train them to overcome all of that. So going to America is not all about writing SAT and writing TOEFL. No, that's only about 20% of the work that has to be done. The bigger work has to do with helping them to develop portfolio for leadership and for community service, and then training them on how to respond to interviews if they want scholarship, because they're going to put them on Skype, put them on Zoom, and ask them questions. So we prepare them for all of that. And then also give them skills they can use to work when they get abroad, so that they don't have to keep looking back home to ask for money from their children. In the Nigeria of today, parents should not look forward to paying their children's school fees abroad. It's terrible because the foreign exchange situation is very unpredictable. Things can go very bad. So the smart thing you need to do is to take advantage of a system that gives your children what it takes for them to take care of themselves as they arrive abroad. And I'll be happy to sit down with your family and develop a curriculum for you. So I'm in Nigeria for the next 1 month. So if you want your family to have that kind of peculiar curriculum design, just reach me and we'll book an appointment, and we tell you what other things that you need to do in terms of steps you have to take. All right. So one more question, Harrison George.
Yes, Dr. Gudoro, what do you have for adults?
Yeah, for adults, if, for example, you're a teacher and you like to set up a school of your own, and you are not happy with the kind of money you're earning, why are you struggling? All you need to do is go through, for example, a professional certification in public relations. In only 5 days, you have finished it. You earn the credential you need and the skills you need to be able to set up your own school. And then in the modern society, in the world we live in today, when we say school, it doesn't have to be brick and mortar. There's all the money is on the internet. So we show you how to set up your school on the internet, and you can get parents from around the world, Germany, America, Canada. Nigerians live all around the world. It's the type of education we are providing, even as teachers in Nigeria, is generally unaffordable by the average Nigerian living in the UK and in America. So they will prefer to have you treat their children from Nigeria. And there are platforms we can put you on. So you go through that program and you acquire the skills and you set up your own school. And if you want to become a specialist with respect to digital marketing, school promotion, in 5 days, you acquire all the skills. So this is summertime, as people call it in Nigeria, even though this is not really summer for Africans, but let's call it summer the way you call it. So if you use 5 of your holiday days, you get the skills and you overcome financial insecurity. and you will also be able to give your children good quality education, because in Nigeria, a major challenge the average teacher has is that he works in an international school where his children cannot school, which is very unfortunate. So he trains the children of other people to go to America, to go to Britain, to go to Germany, but his own children end up in a state, public school, which will not guarantee good quality employment in today's Nigeria. All right, so that's about the last we'll take. We will and continue the conversation on the platform. If you are not on the homeschooling club, just get in there. We have shared those links, and also get other parents to benefit from this. We have recorded this, and we are going to make it available before the end of this evening, so that if you want to share with other parents who didn't have the good fortune to join us, you can do that. Or if you missed a part of it, you can watch it again. We'll be happy to do that. Within the next 3 hours, we'll share the link. You find it on YouTube. All right. So everyone, thank you for joining us. I hope that you stop being afraid of giving your children the education that they deserve. Really, the Nigerian school system is not designed to take adequate care of your child's talents, of your child's peculiar educational needs. So get into the driver's seat, take control, so that your children will not struggle the way most of us who are parents today are struggling. They deserve, better life, because there's no reason why anybody should be struggling in this kind of age and time, when internet is making people earn the money. Some of us spent about 40 years to earn. You can earn all of that in only 1 hour just by creating an app and publicizing it. So we are going to make all that available to you. So reach me by way of phone or WhatsApp message this evening or tomorrow, and then we'll put your child on a program that will get the child out of Nigeria into the US, or help you to set up a mobile, like a home school. A young man somewhere in Lekki is talking about, mobile school, with his wife, because they also have children who they want to give the best education. I hope they are in this conversation this evening. So we have made the case that yes, we can get other parents in your neighborhood, give you the support. You don't have to do any. 6 people can come together, and then we provide you the guidance you need to set it up. So just reach us, and we'll tell you what your next steps can be. On that note, I wish you well, and thank you for finding time to participate in this conversation.